Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special Sunday night Council of Miniature Painters edition of Monster Den Minis. And wow, we have got a awesome council for you tonight. And I hope you got your questions ready and gonna get into these topics. Our topic tonight, our guest tonight, is Lyla Mev, the mini witch of YouTube fame, and we're really excited to have her on. We're going to be talking about, you've picked your model, now what the blank do I do? You know, it's one of those things that we all sit there and say, hey, that's a cool model. But then sometimes it sits on the shelf. Sometimes you have inspiration right away. We talked about inspiration last month with Zambies, where to get your inspiration. But tonight we're going to talk about what to do once you've picked your model and move forward. Warpgate Studios, welcome in, everyone. Otis is here. He's been whining for the last half hour waiting for me to go live because he wants a special treat. So anywho, we're going to talk about what I've been doing in our introduction. So I'm not going to go through my normal introduction stuff where I say what I've been working on today. So anyhow, why don't we jump right over to the Council of Miniature Painters and get going today and grab a brush of miniature and some paints and get your questions ready for the Council of Miniature Painters featuring Lyla Mev. So welcome to the Monster Den and the Council of Miniature Painters. All right, we are here in the Council of Miniature Painters. Welcome in, everybody, and a special welcome to our special guest tonight, Lyla Mev, the mini witch herself. Thank you for joining us for our council. We've been things have been this episode of the stream and the council has really been gaining some steam. A lot of great questions, a lot of great topics, and we're glad to have you here introducing your topic. Hey, Otis, get over here. Your treat's right here. Otis. He disappeared on us because he doesn't know where his treat is. But there, now he's got it. Okay. Anyhow, so we got James is here. Oh, the James Mev. That must be Lila's husband. Allison Silverhair and Warpgate Studio Fine Line. Everybody's here. So, wow. This is great. We've got some other people here in the council with us. We've got James Wapple, oil painter extraordinaire. Painterly Git is listening in. I think he's having a few troubles. Blades is here, and Dig Batty are here in the council. I'm sure we'll have some other people joining us. Yeah, so why don't we jump in? Our first thing we always talk about is what we're doing, what we're hobbying, if you're not hobbying, what are you doing in life? I just heard a little bit what Lila's doing. It's really exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our special guest. Lyla, what have you been doing in the hobby space or otherwise?
Sure thing. So I just released my first video that I've released in like 2 months. So if you've been wondering, Lyla, where have your videos been? You can go watch one now. It's new as of like 4 days ago. So yay, new video. But I bought a Victorian house and it has been a lot more fixer-upper than originally anticipated. So I'm actually just now, as of like the past few days, been getting into painting again. And currently I am kit bashing for Resin Beast for Creature for Adepticon 2026, and then working on my fine art Dragonfall piece for this October in Lake Geneva.
Wow, just to think we're talking Adepticon 2026 already.
Wow. I still, it's June and I feel like I'm starting too late for Adepticon.
Boy, I'm still working on ReaperCon and Dragonfall and everything else. I haven't even begun to think about Adepticon. Although you never know when a piece is going to take you through the whole season, right? You know, you could use a piece over again. There's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, well, God, that's awesome. New house. That's really, really exciting. Really exciting. Big step. All right, let's move on to James Wapple. What are you working on?
Hey there. Well, it's been the usual. Let's start maybe further back and work our way forwards. This is that tutorial series I've been working on. We did episode 2, the color test figure. That's this guy right here. Episode 1 was the basing. So I think that's what, series 46. We finished the dreaded mounted baristas from Creature Caster on stream. Got all 4 of these guys done. Ironically, these are just kind of a precursor because I'm doing a diorama with these guys, and we were just doing this kind of as a little color test, see how that was going to work out. Let's see, last month was this because Indianapolis 500, so we painted the linseed racer. We got to do several more versions of this. Someone even took my Easterling Army color scheme and wrapped it around, so they challenged me to paint that too. Let's see what we've got. This was our Battle of Midway Observation Week, just a week or so ago. We started off with the 1800 scale Enterprise. Then we did flat tops on Flat Thursday, and then we followed that up with the Dauntless. So this was it was kind of neat because this was 3D printed. The first one that I did 4 years ago was a 1/48 scale, and that was not going to fit. And no, those aren't decals. We had to paint those wet on wet with the oils like usual. We got some more flat things here. I think we got like 4 weeks of flat Thursdays to get caught up on here. Last Thursday was this. Hobbits in Space. There you go. So I think you guys have already seen Sauron, the Space Puppy, Space Australia. I think this one's new. I don't think people have seen this one yet. And I'm not sure if people saw Space Shadow Effects here. So that's some of the new flat stuff that we did. We did this Bellinok sculpt here. Actually, Bella was in the chat, which was kind of cool. So we were able to do a little bit of light freehand on this thing, just super quick while she was watching. So that was very fun. We did this. Kathy's sister sent me 20 new oil paints. Lots of, let's just say, pricey colors. We're calling it either the Doomsday palette or the Bankruptcy palette. But this was a whole bunch of cadmiums and cobalts and everything else. And it was kind of neat. This is the first time I've been able to do the loot bust and figure. I've done a bunch of the loot figures, a bunch of loot busts, but never the figure and the bust. Which ironically is kind of the reason why I subscribed to Loot Studios in the first place years ago. I think this is another couple of things that we did on the stream here. Another Loot Studios. This was this week's Armada Mondays. I think that was a Gneisenau right there. And then this is the craziest of crazies right here. So these are from Archvillain. We've been, well, they're the fungus people, but I call them the Truffleites. And we painted this one on Friday. We painted this one on Saturday. And they were so bizarre that I actually just took, I don't know, as many pictures of tree fungus as I could find, fed them in with the pictures of the miniatures just to hash out some ideas. So you can see here's the 2 that we did. This is the one I'll be doing next week on stream, and then I'll be doing this one as a tutorial video. So these things are absolutely wacky. I'll probably be bringing these things to Gen Con as maybe the unit entry or something. It kind of depends. We have lots of options. Also, too, there was this Nerixon sculpt right here. This is a new tutorial series. People have been begging for moonlit miniatures for the longest time. So this one is kind of combining moonlight, reflected water, and some tattoos. And I think we've got ourselves some images here. So again, I took the miniature, I said, show me some of these different effects. And it took a few permutations, but now at least I have some ideas, right? And I got some pictures that I can show people while I'm painting this. So this is a about a 3-part series, I think. So again, it's been a light month, not really doing a whole bunch there.
A light month. A light month. You do more in a month than I do in a year or two.
Well, that doesn't count all the home repair projects either, because we've basically rebuilt the garden. We've been tuck pointing the outside of the house. So there's that too, because the channel's not just a cavalry channel or Lord of the Rings channel. Now it's also a home repair and a gardening channel. All of those you can find.
Do you ever?
That's
do you
right,
ever sleep? Do you sleep ever?
I've heard. Now this is some kind of really bizarre, barbaric human custom. I'm not sure why you guys do this. Now let me get this straight. So you guys lie down for like 6 to 8 hours. You do nothing. When you wake up, you got funky hair, bad breath. You're probably really hungry, probably not in a great mood, and you gotta pick yourself up with caffeine just to be able to move around. Not sure why humans do that. It's a mystery.
Wow. Yeah.
One day scientists will find out.
Yeah, I've always thought that myself. It's like, gosh, if I just didn't have to sleep every night, I'd get so much more done. All right.
I knew you were an alien, James.
So let's see. Blades is next on the list. Blades, what are you working on?
Hello. Well, same as last month, just little bit of words. Okay, words are hard. Let's just get that straight. Little bits of odds and ends here and there. Kind of working on my pile of shame, pile of opportunity, castle of shame, whatever you want to call it. But my last biggest project that I completed, and Ed is happy about this one, the Valfyrix dragon, the Bones Reaper dragon that you gave me 2 years ago at Adepticon, I finally finished it.
Yep, and it looks fantastic.
Thank you. I glazed the whole thing. It took me 2 years and 3 attempts because the first 2 colors I didn't like, so then I put it aside for about a year. Finally, I picked it up again, glazed the whole thing in 3 streams, I think it took me, and it's done. So I have a huge sense of accomplishment with this one. So that's nice. The latest, biggest project that I've done. So
excellent.
I'll probably go back to my pile of opportunity again for a while.
There you go. Pick the next piece and use tonight's discussion topic on how to get started, right? So,
yes, exactly.
All right. So let's move over to Git. I'm assuming Git, you did not figure out your technical issues? No, he just jumped out. No, all right, so let's move over to Dig. Batty, how are you doing and what are you working on?
I'm doing good. Eating Cheez-Its and watching paint dry.
Sounds like a great afternoon.
It is. No, I'm working on a couple of commissions that I got from my 3D print shop, and I also got a commission from Cuttlefish Colors. I'm doing a bunch of minis for his booth at ReaperCon. So he's got a whole bunch of RPG stuff. They're basically miniatures he sells through his website. He sent them to me, so I'm working on that. And then I've got a couple other commissions that I need inspiration for. So this is a great topic for me tonight, personally.
All right. Excellent. And I see Black Skull snuck in here at the last moment.
Let him in.
Yeah. But he's on mute. Now he's not. Uh-oh. What's up, Black Skull? What are you working on?
Not too much. First of all, hello, Lyla. And I'm continuing to do the work on the 3D printed Ribbitstone models. I'm doing the Oryx things. They're coming along very quickly, very nicely. I just got the big boss on the big saber cat the other day, so I'll have to assemble it and get working on that. I'm, of course, continuing my work on the Gnome King for Reaper. I'm almost done with the central part of the bust. I'll be moving on to the left hand that has the mouse top pipe and so on, but that's going to continue on from there, and I'll adjust from there. I'm also working on a piece for, let me pull it up real quick. I'm working on a piece for the Colors Unleashed miniature paint competition in honor of Pride Month, and I've got that model almost completely done. I've got some airbrushing to do on the base and a few touch-up colors to work on it, so I'm almost done with that. And that's kind of where I'm at this point. Although I am taking a sort of a page from Lila's book. I'm scouting and looking around for what I might come up with for Resin Beast next year, but I'm not looking at it too hard right now, only because I need to keep my focus on the ReaperCon piece, but I'm keeping my eye out for something that might catch my eye for next year.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess I'm the last one to go. So I was talking.
And we're out of time, folks. Thank you for joining the Council Miniature Painters this evening.
Yep, it's great, and yeah, it's going to be a great council. Let's see, what have I been working on? I was talking right before we went live that I've been kind of struggling in a paint. I'll call it a painter's block. It's just one of those things where, I was working on some pieces. I just couldn't seem to find my groove with anything, and was starting to get a little frustrated about it. And I started the Fallout Girl, which I've been doing on stream for the last few times. And this is a Loot Studios inspired Fallout Girl, so it's not really a Fallout Girl. But I did not think I was going to really like painting this one, but it's starting to turn out. I got a lot of stuff to do yet, but it's starting to turn out pretty cool. And I started to build a background based on some input from stream last night. And yeah, so I mean, you never know what's going to get you out of your rut. And this piece kind of started to, and I'm going to continue to work on it because I think I'm going to take this one to, at least as one of mine to ReaperCon. So might show up later this year, or who knows, it might even show up for Resin Beast if it keeps going. You never know. But if something sparks that imagination, gets you going again, why not keep working on it? I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I'm printing a gigantic Loot Studios pirate ship right now. And it's like it's probably 18 inches long. Probably more than that. It's big. It's a big piece of heavy. It's going to be a lot to paint it. I'm not going to assemble it till it's painted because it's so large. No way you could paint it all in one shot. So, but yeah, Otis is here. He's ready. You ready, Otis? Yep, you're always ready for treats. Anyway, I think that is it for our round robin. Welcome into our audience tonight, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there who have been maybe celebrating with your family, or if you can't, they're thinking about you. We got Sergeant Pepper, we got Hack and Slash, Quandom, Solitaire. Everybody's out here. If you're going to have any questions, Arta Michael, you're going to have any questions for us, start thinking about your questions, because we're going to have questions later on, maybe a few as we go along. So that brings us to our main topic. And Lyla is here to talk about that. She chose the topic, and our topic tonight is, okay, you've got this miniature. Now what? Now the blank what, I think, as she put it in the chat when she came up with the idea. Yeah, I think we all go through that struggle. We all ask that question from time to time. And so yeah. Uh-oh. Lyla's picture just got real tiny.
Am I back?
There, now it's back. There it goes.
I realized my laptop is at 18%, which, if you know me, is absolutely just on par for how I do things.
Well, welcome, Lyla. Thank you again for joining us here in the Council Miniature Painters. We're always looking for people to come in and give us their take on various topics, and so happy that you could join us. So
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So where do you want to start with your topic?
That's kind of a funny question to ask for you've picked out a model. What's next? So here's the topic. What's next?
What's
Great
next?
question. I guess I will start with the models that I'm working on right now. So I am working on 2 competition pieces, and when I'm doing a competition piece, I spend so much time on the first phase of inspiration, which you and Zambies talked about that last month, so we won't talk about that too much. But what I do want to talk about is reference photos. I spend so much time looking at reference photos and color matching, and I can spend hours on reference photos, especially if it's something. Miniature I'm working on right now is a lady standing in a stream bed. There's sunset at her back and dusky twilight at the front. And how does the water interact with the sunlight? And what color does the water reflect? How does my figure going to reflect in all of this water? So reference photos are always the first place that I start.
Reference photos. And where do you get your photos?
Google.
Just Google? Okay. Googling?
I mean, I have gone out and taken my own reference photos. Before I decided that I was going to be doing having the water reflect on the space, I at first thought that I might paint the water clear, in which case I needed to know how the feet were going to look under the water, because this miniature has no feet. She's just stuck into the base with no feet. So I was going to have to figure out how to paint feet myself. So in that case, I went and took a bunch of reference photos, and it was actually a huge to-do to take, and people made fun of me for having such a difficult time taking photos of my feet. But none of it ended up mattering because I'm painting light reflections anyway.
Now, when you're starting for inspiration, do you like take, like a lot of people will take pictures of their miniatures after they've primed them to get different light directions and that stuff? Is that included in that part of what you do?
It's not included in the inspiration phase. My inspiration phase is the very, very beginning of I've chosen a model, now what? And the first thing that I like to do for inspiration is I find a bunch of photos that I just like, either of this particular model or just photos that are similar that I like, and I just collect everything that I like. I don't put any restrictions on it. It's just, I like this photo, save. I like this photo, save. And then after I have like 10, 15 photos, then I go back in and I look at, do any of these photos, is there a trend in these photos? Is that color? Or maybe they all have the same object source lighting, and I usually let my subconscious lead where I'm going. And first I just find what I'm drawn to, because if I follow my subconscious and paint what I'm drawn to, then I'm more likely to be happy with it, because subconsciously that's already what I wanted to do. If I go in with a really hard direct plan, which is why I have difficulty painting Warhammer, because Warhammer has very specific things on how it's supposed to look, I don't find as much joy in that. So I try to let my subconscious lead me and try to follow the process and see where it will take me. I mean, with your color choices? Oh, Ed, it says you're muted, my dude.
I am muted. I'm sorry. I've been muting because Otis has been very vocal. People were hearing him because he's so loud. I was saying I'd be afraid to let my subconscious guide me. It would kind of maybe take me to some pretty scary places.
And yes, and my answer was, but for colors, like, where are you going?
Right. Atomic Spoon says, Grimdark. I always paint Grimdark. Well, if you have a way you're doing it, that's great. I switch around to all kinds of different stuff, so that's, you know, it's what the piece how a piece speaks to me. But if you're, I think that would take some of the thought out of it. Could be a good thing to say, oh, I'm going to do grimdark all the time. That might make it easier. I don't know. Runic Raccoon is here. All right, so
I mean,
I think I would have to shoot myself if I had to stick to just grimdark. That'd be just too much.
Yeah. It puts you in a rut, right? You know, or puts you somewhere. But you know, there's people who like that style. Sometimes you're painting it because you're playing a grimdark game, and everything you paint is grimdark. I mean, that's. I felt the same way when I was painting Gloomspite Gitz. Not because it wasn't grimdark, but it was the same thing over and over and over again, and I just lost. Quantum Reverie says my subconscious was magenta and green. Yes, it is. I use magenta and green way too much. Jade green to be specific. Okay, so you got your pictures and your picture kind of inspiration. Then where do you go? Then what?
The next thing I do is, clean, unfortunately.
Clean.
It's mold line removal and all of that fun stuff, sanding. It's all the boring stuff that I absolutely hate doing. But if you're entering competitions, you can't skip it, unfortunately.
And like I was saying earlier, you never know what might become a competition piece. I skipped cleaning this model, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I don't know where I want to go with it, and I regretted it. I regretted it instantly. I said, oh, I should have cleaned this model better than I did.
I think that it depends on what kind of model you're painting. So like I paint a lot for YouTube, in which case if I'm painting specifically for a video, then it's my work, it's my job, and I'm only going to paint it as much as I have to. Many people know for YouTube, I only paint the front half of the model. If you only see the turntable and it's like the front, like 60-70%, and then it spins real fast around the back, yeah, that's because I didn't paint the back. So
yeah, you and Lyla are a match made in heaven.
Black Skull gives me so much crap for not painting the back of models.
Yeah, no, man, I want to dedicate the time I have to the pieces that could be competition pieces. So, nope, I'm going to do the YouTube video and then go do the fun things that I actually want to do.
Lyla, the MODOK he didn't paint the back of was a competition piece.
I did paint the back of it. I just waited.
Am I allowed to swear? Can I swear here?
Sure.
Because I thought.
I did paint the black of MODOK. I did paint the back. I just waited a long time to do it. And he was on a plinth anyway. You couldn't see his back. Yeah.
Dude, Sam Len turned my model upside down once, and he was like, I saw that you, like, mostly painted the bottom of this axe that no one's ever going to look at unless you flip it upside down and at the perfect angle. But I flipped it upside down and looked at it at the perfect angle and saw that the bottom of the axe was not nearly as pristine as the top of the axe, so I had to deduct points for it.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, paint everything like it's being seen, right? You know, that's interesting. A lot of people are chiming in here. Ed only paints the front of MODOK. Yeah, you already told. Last army I was commissioned to paint was given to me without having been cleaned. Drove me insane. Ugh. Ed painted
Charge
the back
extra.
What is that? Sorry.
Charge extra.
Charge extra.
And when I do commissions, there is a fee for cleaning and mold line removal. And if they say they're going to do it themselves and they send it to me subpar, I add it on anyway.
Quantum says we can tell which YouTube mini painters don't paint the backside by seeing which ones don't do a 360 showcase shot.
Yes, exactly. I do the 360. It's just real fast.
it goes, and then it goes snap to the other side.
Yes.
Joe has a question. How much feedback should we expect from mini painting competitions like Resin Beast? We didn't hardly get any this last year. But
Well, Resin Beast was, I mean, supposedly you could sign up online and get feedback from judges, which I did not, but
yes,
supposedly you could.
Now that you said that, you just reminded me that that was the case. You didn't get it there. You had to post a picture in Discord, and then they told you what they remembered about your piece. So I did not do that either. Probably should have, but at that point I wasn't interested. So,
I have strong opinions about this past Resin Beast, and I was told if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was kind of a mess. Hopefully they'll get it
It's
sorted
rough.
out next year. Drilling barrels, yeah, for Golden Demon you probably have to drill barrels. I don't know. I don't know if any other competitions expect that.
Yeah, I gave up drilling barrels for Lent a couple of years ago. I don't do that anymore.
Runic Raccoon says, I also have some very strong feelings about Resin Beast, but I agree, live and learn. Yeah, I get it. Alright, so we have picture inspiration. We have
Yes.
cleaning your model.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? What's next?
Well, the one other thing I want to add about cleaning the model and everything is for competitions, sand, prime, double check if you missed any mold lines, sand again, and then paint. Because I swear to God,
Good point.
I always find mold lines after I've started painting, because I swear paint just highlights mold lines. So now I save myself some time, sand, prime, double check, then paint.
I 100% agree with that, and that I saw, I have to wear glasses to see my work anyway, and sometimes I do not see the mold lines or the little 3D print knobbies or anything until it's primed in Zenithal. I mean, sometimes you need to throw a Zenithal on it to see them too, and it's tough.
I've been working on my curse elemental, void elemental, whatever. I call her cursed because she's cursed. The Resin Beast piece I did this past year for 3 years, and I was still finding mold lines. All the way up to entering her, I still found new mold lines.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to see them, and I know I've had a couple people worried about, I already primed it and Zenithilled it once, and is it okay to prime and Zenithil again? Yeah, and it is. No problem.
Lyla, what's the how do you handle things like gap filling and making sure when you do glue pieces together that you don't have any gaps and everything seems coherent for competition?
So I am a big fan of painting and subassembly when it makes sense. So right now I'm kit bashing for Resin Beast, and have decided that I really love this piece. This is the Corrupted Queen Brunhild or something like that. It's a 3D printed piece, and I love the model, but I thought that the pose was dumb, basically. So what I'm going to do is this is part of the base. I don't know how. Sorry, I can't refocus. This is part of the base. This is the model, and so I am going to paint these in subassembly. And how I'm going to get it all to work is, since I'm sculpting this in, I basically took some milliput, and then we'll be sanding it to fit perfectly. So milliput is my favorite because I cannot get green stuff to work. Green stuff is the bane of my existence. Milliput is so much better because you can sand it. So I always recommend using milliput. So work in subassembly. I guess that's a great part of deciding what's next. Is how are you going to paint it? What's the workflow going to be? Are you going to paint it in subassembly? Thinking through how are you going to make sure that the elements make sense. I like to do a digital mock-up first, so I have an app called Procreate. It's it's a drawing app, and I will digitally paint my model, and I will decide highlights and shadows and object source lighting and all of that sort of stuff. This is also a great time for photographing your model, whether that be you prime the model black and you take your photos of it under your light, or you just photograph your zenithal, because most people, they zenithal and then they paint over the whole thing, and then all of that work that you did on your zenithal is like half gone. So I like to photograph it. So next is deciding how, like, what is the game plan for painting?
You just said something interesting there that you well, everything you're saying is interesting, but something that caught my attention was you're saying you're using software to mock up your colors as well, or your colors and highlights.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Runic Raccoon wants to know if Lila's willing to tell us how you set up things with Procreate to paint, because he's been working a lot for school.
1 second. I got her right here. Where's my... Okay, so I have an iPad. I download a photo of the model, and then Procreate is a paid software. It's like $10 or something like that. Oh, here's one that I was working. No, I don't want to show that one. That's a bad one. I'm not gonna show that. But oh, here's one. So, depending on the different layers and such that you use, so you have a drop down up here that lets you do like overlay, blending mode, color blending mode, multiply, all that sort of fun stuff. And what that does is allows you to appear or show things differently. So this is a work that I'm doing with a student. I wish that I could go closer and show you, but it's not going to focus. But so I was painting in the purple object source lighting that the student wants to have. And so we were talking about blonde hair, blue dress, where's this object source lighting coming from? Where is it going to hit down here? I have mocked up the non-metallic metal gradient that he's going to be doing. And so, yeah, I mock up like everything in this. And if I'm having a problem with something, if I'm having a hard time getting the non-metallic metal to look right or something like that, I will literally try painting in different reflections. I'll photograph my model and then paint in different reflections. That way I don't have to paint something like 10 times on the model. I can paint it 10 times digitally, and then be able to make all of my mistakes and color decisions and things like that on the iPad instead of on the model.
Is that an iPad-only app, or is that can that be done in Windows and Android and that kind of stuff too?
Procreate is only for iPad. Oh, maybe it's on Android. I'm not sure. But you can also use Photoshop, or there is a website called Photopea. It's Photopea. It is basically free Photoshop, and you can do all of the same things in Photopea. I actually have a video. It's super old. I can't even tell. I don't remember what it's called. Something like how to improve without actually painting or something like that. But I have a video on a video tutorial on how to do all of this using the Photopea website.
No, Procreate is not on Android, but it is recommending ones similar. I have to try something.
So Lyla, for your colors, is there a way for you to set up and Procreate a palette of colors that are close to what you actually use from, like, you know, say Reaper or AP or any of those colors of Procreate?
I have no idea. I've never tried to do that. I guess I've curated my paint collection very well to be colors that I just am naturally drawn to. And so also, so this is going to get technical. My background is in graphic design and photography. So one thing about doing a mock-up is that it's never going to look the same because the mock-up is lit from is a screen and it's lit. So this is just a general guide. You're never going to be able to get the colors on your model to match what's on here. So it's more of a general guide. Use your imagination than it is a like perfect exact what colors I have on hand.
Okay, excellent. Another thing we talked about there briefly was gap filling. My favorite gap filling technique right now has been using resin. That's the UV resin. So if you have a resin printer, or you can even buy little bottles of clear UV resin or gray. I have gray UV resin everywhere here. So I just put it in a little dropper bottle, and you can mix it with a little baby powder to give it some jelly, give it more of just a pasty like consistency. Or if you're dealing with real fine areas, you can just use it straight out of the bottle, and I use a little tool to just dip little amounts, and I got a flashlight here, and it worked. That has been really a life changer for, instead of using green stuff or milliput or whatever, because it molds into the surfaces really nice, and it's a really great opportunity to, a lot of people, it's toxic, right? So some people are worried about it, but it is really nice. Yeah, the UV glue pens are the same thing. It's just I just got a flashlight here, and then I bought UV glasses because you're not supposed to look at the light, so I would always close my eyes and then just shine it blindly at what I'm doing. But I bought some UV glasses now so that I can just see what I'm doing. But yeah, that's
I thought that when you couldn't look at the light, I didn't think they meant like you cannot gaze upon it. I thought they meant like don't hold the flashlight up to your eye, don't look at it.
You're not even supposed to look at the ambient light that comes from it. You're not supposed to look at UV light.
Oh shit!
Anyway. Yeah.
Ark of the Covenant. Okay. Whoops.
Yeah, if you're looking at your UV flashlights, be sure to. Yeah, I bought a pair of glasses on Amazon for like $5 that they're yellow, and and then you can look at it.
So Lyla, I'm one of those people that when I'm working in the idea phase and just starting to put a paint on and go with a concept, I have to kind of get to a certain point before I realize this is not working, or I can't correct it and I need to start again. Sometimes I could take a model completely to fruition before I realize it's not working. At what stage do you find where if you have to, you can back up or scrap the idea?
So I try to get most of that out when I'm doing my digital mock-ups. I'll make like 3 or 4 digital mock-ups, unless it's like a color combination that I do all the time. I have certain color combinations that I know just work really well. And so, but usually I do digital mock-ups for just about everything, and then I can avoid that. But usually I start to realize that I'm getting to that point when I don't want to paint it. When I look at it and I go, no, thank you. Like that's the first sign to me. It's my subconscious saying something's wrong here. Is if I don't want to paint it, that's the first red flag. And then when I get to the point of, oh, I don't want to paint this, it's why don't I want to paint it? Is it like what part isn't working that's leading me to feel like that? Because I adore painting. I get like euphoria. I love painting. So if I don't have that, that's a problem, and that's usually when I try to stop and back it up. But I have gotten to I don't think I've ever finished a model and then decided to strip it. I don't think I've ever gotten that far, but I have stripped models 5, 6 times. The Golden Demon piece that I entered this past year at Adepticon, my Necromunda piece, that is the model that I have stripped the second most amount of times. I think I stripped her 4 times before I finally finished her and got to the point that I was happy with her.
Wow.
I'm sorry I don't have better advice than listen to your subconscious.
Yeah, sometimes we do. I mean, sometimes it's, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Sometimes it's just you're painting something and all of a sudden it sparks something to want to keep going even further and further and further, and you want to get into those little details. Other times you get maybe to a desktop plus level and you're like, I'm done. I'm done with this piece. Let's move on to something different and hope that it has that effect. Eve by Night says, Lyla, I love you. YouTube videos. I love your YouTube videos. And coming to the den is like my worlds colliding. I'm so geeking out. So that's what Eve by Night says.
Hey, that means so much. I love when people come up and talk to me and tell me how cool they think I am. At Adepticon, I was having people be very sheepish about, hi Lyla, excuse me, I think you're cool, and I'm like, oh my god, tell me more, tell me how cool I am, please come talk to me.
Yeah, the first time I got recognized in an elevator at Adepticon, I was like, really? You know who I am? So that was like 4 years ago. But yeah, it's kind of one of those. The
first time I got recognized at Adepticon, I had someone come up and start talking to me, and they were so excited. And as the conversation continued, it slowly dawned on me that they thought I was Dana Howell.
Yeah,
I fanboy over Lila's husband.
Yeah, Lyla, I was gushing at Adepticon. Fully accept my role when we go to conventions. Hey, Black Skull and I geeked out with Lila's husband for a while too, and I think Lyla kind of appreciated that so she could go and talk to other people, talk with other people. So that was awesome.
No, James is very good when we go to conventions.
Lyla, you still owe us babysitting money.
No. No, James is very, very good. He knows if I just walk away, there's a reason that I've just walked away from him, and he's just patiently waits until I come back for him.
James can use his bathroom on by himself. He doesn't need a babysitter.
No, it was good. It's always fun to talk with different people about different subjects. Okay, so we've come up with our inspiration, we've come up with our model cleaning, we've come up with our color schemes. How do you feel about, so talking a little bit more about the color schemes, how do you feel, like one thing that personally messed with me for the longest time was the color wheel, and how it was, in my mind at the time, supposed to influence my color making decisions. Do you? Okay. And then Marco Frazzoni said, I was talking with Marco Frazzoni about this very topic, and he said to me, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know, somehow I've come to some idea that the color wheel was supposed to influence my color choices. And he said, no. He says, your mind is supposed to influence your color choices. He says, pick colors you like. And what you're looking for is harmonious colors and not color theory colors, which is kind of a different, a little bit of a different thing. How do you feel about that? Do you ever, did the color wheel thing ever confuse you, or the whole harmonious colors versus color theory?
So, I'm a classically trained artist. I have my master's in fine arts. So, I have come at this from a different angle than most people. So, I think what really opened my eyes in regards to color wheel is learning the difference between the RGB color wheel and the CMYK colored wheel. But I am going to get back to your point. I just want to go on a small tangent. So the RGB color wheel is the historic color wheel. It's the color wheel that everyone learns about in school. It's the idea that mixing red and blue equals purple, which if you have mixed paints, that's usually not what happens. And that is why I don't like the RGB color wheel. I far prefer the CMYK color wheel, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. really you just need the CMY color wheel, but it's the printing color wheel. So they are actively using colors to equal every color imaginable. So when you mix cyan and what is it? When you mix basically any of the colors in CMY can make any other colors. And so I have found that using the CMY color wheel makes a lot more sense because the colors actually mix to make the proper colors. But anyway, I do find the color wheel very helpful because I love using complementary colors, and those are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. So traditionally it's yellow and purple and, or is it blue and yellow? No, yellow and purple, orange and blue, red and green. But the reason that I like to use those or use that idea is because I like to tint my shadow colors. So if I'm painting something, if I'm painting a red sweater and I want that red to look really intense, I can look across from red on the color wheel and use green for my shadows, and that is going to make my red look even more intense. So I don't necessarily use the color wheel to help me choose what colors I'm going to use, but I use the color wheel as a tool to help me decide how am I going to make the colors that I am using more intense.
All right.
I just went on a professor rant right there.
It's great discussion because it's a, you know, when I would say even as early as late as 2 years ago, early as 2 years ago, I was still struggling with this whole, there's certain colors that I have to use together, and that really was a mental block for a long time. And when Marco finally said, pick what you like, and he said, even if it's wrong, if it doesn't look good, you'll know it doesn't look good. And he's right. You pick a color and it doesn't look good, you know it doesn't look good, and your brain says it's not the right color because they just don't go well together. But if you pick a color and it does look good, go with it. And that's kind of one of those epiphany kind of moments. When I had a label up here. I took it. It fell off the desk at one point, but I had a label up here that said, you know, just pick a color you like, because I had to remind myself, just pick a color. And you know, so
the color wheel should be a tool. It shouldn't hold you back. So the color wheel can be really useful because I'm a huge fan of complementary colors, but the reason complementary colors or colors across from each other on the color wheel work so well together is because they excite the rods and cones in your eyes and they make you want to look. So having this graphic representation of I can use these colors and catch the eye can be really useful. But if you aren't going to deep dive into that, then yeah, it's a pretty sticker that you can have on your wet palette. Like, it can be a really amazing tool. Color theory can be amazing. You know, blues recede, blues look like they're far away. So if you wanted to paint a backdrop on a display model like what you did with the model that you didn't paint the back, if you paint it partially blue, that's going to look farther away. If you paint something red, it comes forward and it's going to look like it's more like three-dimensional. So the color wheel and color theory can be absolutely amazing. But if you don't care or it doesn't matter, then you're just getting hung up on a bunch of technical stuff. That's like saying, I can't use the internet because I don't know how to code. Like that, these two things can be really helpful and really cool together, but you can't let one hold back the other. Yeah,
and that's a really good point. It lets you. You made a very good reference there that hits close to home for me, because I am an IT person. I am a very technical, logical. That's how I apply everything to my work and my life. And when it comes to art and painting miniatures, I have to turn some of that off. And it's difficult to do sometimes, and I think that's kind of what I've done over the course of my miniature painting journey, is learn to turn some of that off. But sometimes it turns back on, like it did a couple weeks ago, and I start to get hung up on stuff. So yeah, that's a really good points. We haven't heard from James Wapple up to this point. James, do you want to interject anything into the conversation here?
Well, sure. Actually, I've been trying to catch up to the conversation on this thing here to kind of bust up what we were just talking about with the different colors, right? Even on here, okay, this is green, right? There's a whole bunch of different greens. We got cool greens, we got warm greens, and guess what's in the shadow areas? Basically like a burnt sienna, terra rosa type color here. So on stream last night and the night before, I was talking about visual color surprises. Those judges, paint contests, right? They got to look at way more miniatures than they have time to judge. You need to do something to make them go, okay, shading. You needed to make them go, oh, okay, yeah, wait a minute, there's something more there. Let's do our little film noir trick here. That's something we do all the time. Oh, looky there. Okay, we got shading. Yeah. Most people, when they're doing, say, a green orc like this, they'll have green in the shadows, green in the midtones, and green in the highlights. How's about we don't do that? How's about we add something a little bit extra? I've got another one here. It's all finished, and you can see, look at, there's even more. There's practically violets, purples. Look at that. It's a very bluish green right there. Let's do the same thing with this. And again, the hair is almost like a purple type color. Film noir it. Plenty of shading, all that good stuff. But boy, it just got a whole lot more boring. And this is kind of how, when I'm a judge and I'm looking at stuff, this is what I see most of the time. Every so often, you see something that maybe looks more like this, and you say, aha, there's something going on here. I need to look at this closer. Same thing with the fungus people. I think this one was a good example of it right here. You see a kaleidoscope of colors here. Now let's take this back over here. We're gonna turn it into just like a bunch of dirty intestines. There's almost not even hardly any shading back there. What were we just talking about? All those different colors. Even here at about 3% color, you can start to see the red versus the green, blues versus purple. And then, of course, more contrast starts to emerge, because this was something that always zombied me in art school. Okay, cool colors recede, warm colors come forward, except, see that kind of cyan type color? Your eye is looking at that because that is a very intense cyan color. You have intense greens. Over here, you have basically a cobalt blue over there, very intense blue. Next one over here, well, here, we even this one. Okay. That's got a bunch of blues, it's got reds, but those are much more muted. As semi-intense as these are, they're still relatively muted compared to this, which is pretty much making the camera just like tap out. It's like, have mercy on me, please. And there's no fluorescence on here. We're talking about the object source lighting, and now you're starting to chunk in some of the fluorescent paints that really, here, let's do a film noir on this. Boom. Okay, I mean, sort of looks like there's some lighting there, but way more once we start to bring in that color. You could take pictures of your miniatures as you're painting them and do the film noir test, no problem. Right? That's something you could do very easily with today's cameras. And you can make it, okay, does my object source lighting, is it more value-based or is it color-based? Again, lots of muted colors here. Lots of saturated colors here. I mean, we almost darn near turned off that object source lighting. Because, look at that. You wouldn't even know there's any source lighting on them until, oh, wait a second, what's all that stuff? It's all the orange coming from that torch. So we're playing that little, I don't really, same thing with the color wheel. Hated it in art school, hate it even more today, because it really just confuses the heck out of folks. And of course, you know, if you want to figure out some object source lighting, well, you could also use our magic little flashlights here. We got this one. Again, that can kind of give you a little bit of a preview. You could take a picture of this, whatever's. I think we use that. Yeah, here's some of our is not only does it show you, okay, maybe where the light goes, but I wasn't going to do any kind of a cast shadow until, well, I did this, and it said, you do realize that his leg is casting a shadow, you might want to do that. And that was, we call this the Oracle of the Flashlight, and these are just, get tons of them on Amazon for dirt cheap. It's the same deal here. We just kind of oriented this here to figure out, okay, where does that source lighting go? We have cooler colors here, the blues. Let's look at our golds here. So what do we have in our gold? We have lots of green in that gold. It's surrounded by blues and grays. How would, if gold is shiny, is there some kind of like weird anti-reflection Scotch guard on this thing? It's got to reflect all this stuff. Over here, of course, we're reflecting the warmth of our little torch right there. Now that's actually using some fluorescent colors in there. This over here, this is an Andanthrine blue, that's actually kind of a spicy blue as well. So these little color games like the one we did last night here. So this is a whole different, and also too for the inspiration side of thing, where is the scene here that, is it this one? There we go. So that was the one we did last night. And when I was typing in the parameters, I said, show me some almost translucent or whatever shrooms. And I must have loaded at least 40 different pictures of all these different mushrooms and tree fungus. And you can see I tried to replicate some of that. We have more color surprises here. We've got basically greenish highlights on orangey shrooms there. We have violet and almost kind of a tan right next to each other. Lots of opposites bouncing off of each other here. Some things complementary, even the reds here. We have a red that's a cooler red. We have more of an orangey red over here. Same on this side. So even with a compressed color range, you can create all kinds of different colors. I mean, heck, all right. You would think this is a very compressed palette. Let's take away the colors from this guy here. All of a sudden, our water looks very plain because we don't have the teals, we don't have the violets in there. I call this the ambient water right here. So that's mostly kind of Payne's gray, Prussian blue. Over here, we've got phthalo blue, phthalo greens, because it gives it more of a, again, the water is churned up, right? So it's got more of a sea gray or sea green type of appearance as opposed to kind of your deep water right here. Because essentially this is shallow water. It's all been churned up between the bow and your stern churn over here. Even with, and of course too here, let's do another film noir on this deck. Deck is a warm color that's also subdued. And grayscale doesn't look like much, but here, even at this compressed color range, a little bit of yellow right there stands out from a sea. See what I did there? Sea of blue around it. So even that little bit can make a big difference. So just a little kind of food for thought there as you're coming up with color schemes.
Ed, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I've been muting because Otis he's been really vocal tonight.
He's making a lot of noise.
More so than normal. He must really like these treats I'm giving him. Black Skull, you chose wisely when you gave him these treats because he loves them. What's...
I was gonna say me.
What is that?
Kira's gonna say he likes me.
He does. He does. Don't you, buddy? Yeah. He's
okay.
Just waiting for more treats. So what's next? What's next in your process?
Deciding how I'm gonna paint something. Am I going to use an airbrush? Am I going to use a paintbrush? What order am I gonna paint things in? So when I paint something bigger, like this model here, that I'm gonna have to hold quite a bit, I will paint the areas that I have to hold last. So I'll start up with their face and do the sword and do all this sort of stuff. And then if this is how I'm naturally going to hold this model, I'll paint this leg area last, her waist last. Even though I'm gonna wear gloves and such while I paint her, I still decide what's the best order to paint them in. Or like we talked about, painting in sub-assembly, which again is basically just what's the easiest way that I'm going to be able to paint this. However, if you do paint in sub-assembly, I highly recommend reassembling your models using blue poster tack so that you can make sure that things are still lining up appropriately, that colors still look good together. I just worked with this student and we did this huge big piece. It was the a night haunt, I can't remember the like Queen Night Haunt. Can't think of her name. I don't do Warhammer. But she has hair and layers of veil, and he painted all of this together and then assembled her and realized that it didn't make any sense. The lighting didn't work, blah, 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 because he had painted them all separately and had not reassembled anything. So reassemble your model using blue poster tack so you can make sure that things are actually working appropriately. You can also zenithal using blue poster tack. Maybe not a model quite this big. This model is rather large and probably heavy. But you can zenithal a model, put it together using blue poster tack, zenithal, and then take it apart and you will have all of your lights and shadows appropriate.
Yeah, sub-assemblies, I should probably tack them together more often. I'm not a big fan of painting in sub-assemblies because then I have a heck of a time gluing them together. Sometimes when I do a lot of 3D printing and they don't fit together right, and then you're pushing on them and trying to get them to, and then you're cutting on them to try to get them to fit and all that kind of stuff, and it can be damaging to a model, and Blue tack and I don't get along very well. I don't know why, but it doesn't stick well for me. But,
if it doesn't stick, you probably need to stretch it out. So blue poster tack, it like gets hard, and if it's not sticking anymore, you need to just stretch it out a little bit, and then it will become sticky again.
I didn't know stretching it out made it stickier.
There you go. Happy to help.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Right here is, you can see it's kind of dead.
Yep.
But as you stretch it out, all of a sudden that's going to be tacky right there. This over here, not so much.
You're right. I've been using butyl tape to put them on my bases because that holds really, really well. But I didn't know stretching blue tack made it stickier. Huh. You learn something new every day. There you go. Always learn.
I have tack, but my museum tack like hardened or something, and so I'm back to the same blue poster tack I've been using for the past like 5 years.
I have museum putty, and it got real greasy for me, and it just didn't really work real well for me. I don't know if I have the right stuff, but it's called, what is it called? Museum wax. Is that it? This stuff?
Mine was white poster. It was, oh, that's not what I used.
No.
Mine, it was literally white. It came in the same like long rectangles of blue poster tack. It was just white, but it hardened. So
okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm using the wrong stuff. Maybe you're doing it right. I don't know.
I don't think this is right at all because it's never worked for me. I know they use this stuff in museums to hold artifacts to glass shelves. Earthquake hold, quake hold, they call it. So that it doesn't.
I use it on occasion too, but I use it mainly like Lila's using sticky tack, where she can put a piece together and hold it. If I'm doing something where I need to spray it or do some kind of zenithal or whatever, and then pull it apart, I sometimes will put just a little bit of museum wax, and it kind of makes it just enough of a hold, and then it's very easy to get out of whatever it is to clean it off, so that later on it'll glue. So that's what I'm down to using it for, is to for a possible sub-assembly. So, and it does work real well. And if you needed to manipulate the arm or whatever you've got to stack together, it'll still do that. And then it's almost kind of a waxy silly putty.
Yeah, I don't think I got the right stuff with this. That's a problem with Amazon and searching for products. You know, you get a dozen different things; they could all be different.
Right.
Basalt says, I've had the same thing with same museum putty on my painting handles for years without hardening. Not sure what the difference might be. It, you know, it could be different versions of the product or things that are called something similar. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, excellent. All right, so
Back in the days when we had nothing but like 28 millimeter miniatures, if you just licked the bottom of the base and stuck it to somewhere, it stayed for about a half an hour before it fell off.
Were they lead?
Yep.
Mind your own business.
That explains Black Skull right there.
I've actually had no ill effects whatsoever from licking a lead miniature. I'm proof of it.
Sorry. That was just really easy. I'm sorry.
No, that explains a lot. That explains a lot.
So much. So many questions have now been answered.
All right. So we're still going through the process. If anybody has any questions in chat, by the way, I'll do a little side thing here really quick. Tonight is our Council of Miniature Painters. We had a couple of raids come in. Welcome, raiders. And we have our Council of Miniature Painters every third Sunday. And tonight, our featured guest is Lyla Mev, the mini witch of YouTube fame. And please go and check out Lyla on YouTube. She just posted a new video about miniature companies and what was happening with Big Child Creatives, which I have. I'm happy. I have like 4 in my pile of opportunity from them that I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm glad they're there. I'm glad I got them when I did. But she talks about a lot of the different miniature companies that are out there, and some of them are great. I've gotten miniatures from most of the companies she talks about, so go and check that out. Runic says, "Where is your Runic Raccoon official hat?" Mini Witch, where's your Runic Raccoon official hat?
You're giving it to me at Dragonfall, right?
So,
yeah, when we meet at Dragonfall.
Yeah, we're all going to be at Dragonfall.
Exactly.
We're all gonna get them, right? You better bring enough for everybody. Basalt said, "This is great.
Class.
I'm a huge fan of Lyla. Love your content, Basalt. Thanks so much."
Thank you.
Looks at leather stock. What colors? Let's see. If you got any questions that I may have missed, chat has been moving very quick, and it's hard to keep track when we're discussing things. And when is Dragonfall? That is in October, early October, I believe. Don't know the exact dates off the top.
October
First
4th,
weekend?
5th, 6th?
4th, 5th, 6th.
First weekend in October?
Yeah, first
Yes,
weekend
first
in
weekend.
October.
I think it's 4, 5, 6. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, home to Gary Gygax. If you want to go get your dice blessed at the Gary Gygax stone on the walk of Lake Geneva, highly recommend. Get your dice blessed.
Get your dice blessed? I didn't know that was a thing in Lake Geneva. I knew that's where Dungeons and Dragons was born. All I do is see sticker shock when I think about Lake Geneva, because that's where all the Chicago people go to say they're up north, which it's really not anywhere near to up north. Up north is way even north of me. So, but anyway, that's it's a nice place though. James Mev says the color question for Lyla is always answered with purple.
Right. Also, James Mev can talk more about, for anyone who's interested in getting their dice blessed, he knows where it is. He's the one who took me to get my dice blessed. So, look in the chat, and I'm sure he will tell you all about it. Thanks, James!
And did it work? Did it work?
With those dice, the character that I was playing at that time did go on to become an 18th level bard and take the mantle of the god of undeath and slaughter. So, yeah, it went well.
All right. Okay. All right. So there might be some good things coming out of the dice blessing ceremony. Did you have to do a ceremony or anything, or do you just, put them there and, you have to...
You're just supposed to roll your dice onto his stone. And I have a photograph. I don't think I rolled particularly well. I don't remember.
Oh.
But
okay. So
I'd have to look at the photo.
If you roll a 1, those dice are gone. They're done. You may as well throw them away. Okay. So, yes, Otis, I hear you. Dude, you're really vocal tonight. All right, so is there, what else? Runic says purple. Okay, I got purple. I'll have to reach out to you both. We can make something, consider it a housewarming gift. There you go.
Yes.
So,
perfect.
Arta Michael says, as a reverend, should I start selling dice blessing services?
Yes. Make a fortune.
Yeah, you might.
Do the whole themed thing.
Yeah, you could do it like on you could have little charts on TikTok or something where you're blessing people's dice, or you might have a big idea there, Arta Michael. That's
However, you must be an all-denominational type blesser, so you have to be able to bless D&D, Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, those kind of things.
Excellent. All right, so okay, so we've talked about most of the process. Any more steps in your process? What's next?
Let's see. I think my big thing is that I have a playlist that I listen to on loop, which I'm sure my husband just fucking adores. It's like 40 minutes, and I just listen to that one playlist on loop, or true crime documentaries, which I know he also loves. Listening to true crime documentaries on loop. But it's really just about finding your groove, whatever that is. I can't stream because my groove involves talking to literally no one. I never or very rarely paint competition minis on camera for YouTube videos or anything, because the way I want to hold the model and the way the camera is does not work together. James Wupple, I have no idea how you do it, because I don't know. It's fucking magic.
It started in 2013 with me taping my arms to a solid oak drafting table. That's how I learned.
Telling you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, when I started, I put a sticker right in the middle of my desk, or in my camera, so that I could, when I was holding it, I could hold it over the sticker. Or I also did one for the palm, the rest of my hand, so I knew if it was on that sticker, I was in frame. But yeah, there are all those little tricks to stay in frame. I just had I just had a thought, and now I just totally lost that thought. So do you go into every miniature thinking it's going to be a competition piece?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Let me back up the question a little bit. If it's not a piece you're doing for a video, for YouTube, if it's a piece that you just want to paint, where do you decide to? We talk about it a lot here in Monster Den, that no model is ever finished; it's just abandoned. And
oh my god, that's truth.
So at what point do you decide you're done? What point do you decide you're done?
Never. I've been working on my Void Elemental for 3 years. Could probably work on it for another 3 years. Not necessarily because, honestly, at this point, it would be faster for me to buy a new one and start over. Part of the problem is that I've repainted and repainted and repainted, and she is just such a pain in the ass to hold that I keep rubbing off paint in certain locations, and honestly, it would just be faster for me to buy a new one. But, no, anyone who knows me knows that I paint directly up until the due date. Like, at Adepticon, I only stayed up for 18 hours straight trying to finish my Golden Demon piece. I would have stayed up for the full 24, but my husband wouldn't let me. So the model is done when it's in the case.
Okay. Well, obviously not, because you've worked on some models for multiple competitions in between. Like,
Yes, I entered the Resin Beast one. I've entered 3 times. I entered her the first year because I vastly underestimated the amount of time it was going to take for me to finish her. And so I started painting her like 1 month before Resin Beast and put her in the case with express intent of, hey, is it okay if I submit her? I want to paint her and enter her again later. And they said that was fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have entered it. And then I also entered it in Dragonfall, got a bunch of feedback, and then entered it again this year.
yeah.
This is the last year. This was the last year I was allowed to enter it. I think that my fans and my husband would have murdered me if I kept painting the void elements.
Yeah. Do you ever pick up a model like after a long time and paint on it again?
Yes, I do. I have so many abandoned projects. Some of them I would love to finish. Others of them I called finish and thought that this was the pinnacle of my work 4 years ago, and now I'm gonna make it better. I just recently learned, so one of the pieces that I talked about in my most recent video was this bust by Carol Rudick that I have, the Black Mother. It's the zombie holding the mask, and that model's not available. And I had to pay so much money to buy one off of eBay because I didn't even I couldn't buy one from Carol Rudick, so I had to buy someone selling theirs. So it cost like $200, what was originally a $65 model, but you know,
Carol
whatever.
Rudick just offered that last month on Patreon for STL.
That's what someone just told me, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I have the STL of that one, and that's a great sculptor. I'm doing the Patreon for that one. You did another miniature in your last video where it was the more artistic ones. I just joined that one too. That was a My Mini Factory. In fact, that's this one, this model here, with the Zeus character, and then it's got the, I don't know, where's the girl? The girl goes up here fighting him, so she's up on the back with the, I don't know what I did with the rest of it, but yeah, this is one of the companies I thought you mentioned in your video. I'm gonna look it up while we're continuing to talk. Please, if you have any questions, please get them into chat now. We're gonna start our just kind of general question and answer session here in just a little bit. But please get your questions in, and if you Painterly has a question. Let's see. Painterly has a question. I don't see the question. I hope you guys got it fixed in time. Oh, that's when James said that you tried to fix a model, last quick fix, and you ended up breaking it.
Yeah, that would be the Void Elemental. That's why I call her Curse Baby, because the first year I entered her into Resin Beast, I was going to I found a mold line, because of course I did, and was just going to quick do this one little fix, and then I broke her.
Oh.
And then I spilled orange paint.
Ouch.
So yeah,
that hurts.
And then, yep. So the first year she wasn't finished. Spilled orange paint in the hotel room. Broke the model in the hotel room. Just entered it to be done. The second year, like 24 hours before Adepticon, I accidentally melted a glove to her base. Apparently, latex gloves melt instantly when put into contact with super glue. So I melted a glove to her base. It wasn't a huge deal. It was just that it was 24 hours before Adepticon, and I decided that, yeah, no, I wasn't gonna make it done, wasn't gonna get it done in time. And then at Dragonfall this past October, I entered her. and she fell off the plinth. The judge picked her up by the plinth, and the model just... And he caught the model and dropped the plinth. And, so yeah. So the model's fine, but it was just like... What else? What else? So, curse baby.
Oh. That's everybody's nightmare to have a piece break like that. Painterly Gid asked a question: did a Rascal sticker ever make it to Lila's painting area?
I'd have to look in my pile of stickers, which is just yonder. I don't know. What does it look like?
Probably like... I think I've got the magnet. Here it is. Probably looks like... Oh man. Like this. This is one of them anyway. There's Rascal.
No, I do not have that.
All right. I have to make sure we fix that. Let's see. Let's see, questions. If you asked a question earlier, please ask it again. I'm probably missed a lot of questions and discussions. Runic says, I gotta look into Dragonfall. I didn't know they even had a competition. Yeah, they have a competition. I think I heard Tony saying it was going to change this year. I think there might be like a small entry fee or something I don't know if he ever did that, or if that's moving forward. Nickerson is this sculpt here from Nickerson on My Mini Factory.
Oh, no, I did not talk about them.
Okay, I thought they were in your list. I couldn't. You talked about so many great sculptors like Hera. This is a Hera. Yeah. That's a Hera piece there.
Is that Erickson you're talking about?
What is that?
Is it Erickson you're talking about?
No. The one on My Mini Factory that I just joined was called Nerikson. 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 Yeah, they just put out a beautiful Plague Doctor and another one.
This is one of theirs too.
Yeah. They got some really incredible models. Let's see what's oh, that's an Erickson one? Okay, that's an Erickson. All right.
Yeah, this is one. This one's a Erickson. I remember the big king that we did with the FDM printer. That's another Erickson right there.
Yeah.
All of his stuff is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I'm
Disgusting.
I'm doing less war game. You know, like there's so many mini places out there that do like D&D minis. I'm starting to kind of move more towards the pieces that are a little more artistic. You know, things like this. You know, you're not going to use that to play a war game. It's just an interesting pose and a little more creative. That's why I joined Nerikson. That's why I got on Carol Rudick. That's the reason I joined that one. You know, just trying to move to things that are a little more, I don't know, just a little more creative, a little more interesting than some of the typical D&D stuff that's out there. But yeah, it's there's so many great things, whether you buy them printed, print them yourself, or get resin cast, whatever. There's so many great pieces out there, and it seems endless. And every time I look at pieces, it's like, ooh, more models, more backlog. You know, but you know, you never know. I've had pieces that I bought or printed, and then they end up on the shelf, and at the moment I print them, at the moment I buy them, I have this vision, this inspiration, and then a month later I look at them on the shelf going, nah, not feeling it. You know, not feeling it. I think another thing, you know, talking about going a little bit back to the process, where we're talking about the process, is I'll find myself, I'll get up to a certain point, let's just call it tabletop plus, right? I kind of take my models up to that point, but then I find myself messing around with all the little details, all the tiny little things, and if my brain wants to continue to drive that model and I'm getting enjoyment out of all those little details, I will then decide, oh, I'm going to take this maybe up to competition level. The problem with doing that is that I call that the organic way of finding a competition piece versus saying, this is going to be a competition piece. I find that more difficult. I find it more difficult to say, I'm going to start this piece and this piece is going to be a competition piece. I'd rather find my competition pieces more organically, but that takes time. I can go through 10 models and not find that spark. And that gets kind of frustrating sometimes. How do you feel about that? Do you start a piece saying this is going to be a competition piece, or do you kind of find something that spark all of a sudden is something you're more interested in? Takes you.
So I'm the kind of person who paints for competitions. Like I'm gonna bring home that axe one day. That axe for Dragonfall will be above my fireplace. So I choose models that I think will hit the theme of the competition. So for Dragonfall, they really push story. That's one of their really big things. And I entered Curse Baby, and they said, cool, thanks for coming. And because there was no story, which, you know, I thought Curse Baby was great, but it's not what they were looking for. But so this year, my whole piece is story. Like that is the driving factor for that piece. For Resin Beast, for Creature Caster, I pick out a model that I think that I will like to paint, but I also can show off certain techniques. Like I can do non-metallic metal, I can do translucent energy vine things, or maybe object source lighting. And so I pick pieces that I know will have elements that I can really show off my skill. But then I also look for things that, like, I'll look at the criteria for a competition. So Resin Beast says that they want story. I worked hours, so much time, putting a little cultist summoning my void elemental. And did it matter? No. But I think that I hit some of those requirements way harder than other people hit those requirements. But so I look at the rules and I choose my pieces trying to hit the rules as much as I can. Of course, you have to love the piece, but no, when I choose a competition piece, I am looking to bring that axe home and put it up over my fireplace.
Painterly Git says, confirmed Lyla is painting a Sand Scavenger exotic dancer for Dragonfall. You know about this bottle, right? I think you must have had one by now.
No, no.
You don't. Where is? I've never given you one. Wait, I gotta grab one. Hold on, I'll be right back. I got it over here.
I can say that he's not here, but I'm gonna. Oh no, never. Well, fine.
You've never painted the Sand Scavenger exotic dancer, more commonly known as the Jawa stripper.
You know what? That has not crossed my desk.
Joe Minnesota has one. I'll be sure to get you one of these at Dragonfall. The story behind this model is I used to I still do paint crazy pictures in Microsoft Paint. I am not a good drawer, so this was the very first Jawa stripper that I was asked to paint to draw on stream, and then that turned into the Otis and the Jawa stripper in the hot tub version.
Okay.
And then Hack and Slash Minis, we were saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a 3D print of this? And Hack and Slash Minis said, here, hold my beer. And we got the official Sand Scavenger exotic dancer. So, yeah.
You know, I do paint a lot of pretty ladies, so
there you go.
Kind of.
Well, I will make sure you get one of those next at Dragonfall. I always bring them. So anyway, yeah. So that's interesting though. It's like, yeah, you're a competition painter, so you're going into every piece thinking about that. And I like to have palette cleansers. Do you do something simpler? Or do you consider your YouTube stuff to be like a palette cleanser?
My palette cleansers are things that I don't have to photograph or document in any way. Because even if I don't like to record my competition pieces, I'll still do like PDFs for them. And so I still have to photograph it. I still have to think about it. And so my palette cleansers are, this is in no way going to make it to social media unless I decide to photograph it. And just being able to relax and not worry about making sure that I'm doing things in a certain order so that they make the most sense for the video, or making sure my head's not in the shot and things like that. So those are my palette cleansers.
Be sure your head is not in the shot.
Oh yes, because I like to lean forward and hold the model like here. So then it's just my head in the shot.
Oh, okay, yeah. Painter Leggett asks, do you like synthetic or natural hair brushes?
Winsor Newton Series 7, size 1, all the way.
Size 1? You paint everything with a size 1?
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't?
No, I two is my workhorse, and one is for details, and 0 is for even more details. So.
Yeah. I paint everything with a size 1.
Wow. Even a gigantic creature caster?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I can't imagine painting that with a size 1. Wow, that's and then Painter Leggett says, brush licking, yay or nay?
I am trying not to brush lick. I cannot imagine that is very good for you long term, and so it happens once in a while, but I am a recovering brush licker.
Yeah. I've tried to stop. It's just impossible. I gave up trying to stop. I just try to make sure my brush is at least rinsed off and dabbed out before I lick the brush. Awkwardest Panda
when
says,
I do lick the brush, that's what I do.
Awkwardish Panda says, yeah, I took Lila's advice on that Winsor Newton size 7. Size 1 has become, or Winsor Newton Series 7, size 1 has become your daily brush. Runic Raccoon says, we're all addicts with brush licking. I think we need a patch. Brush lickers anon. Yeah. Brush lickers anonymous. I'm a brush licker. All right. Any questions that we've missed here? I'm just going back through chat here. Hack and Slash loves Hera's models. Also designed some fantastic models himself. Let's see. Art of Michael, an old comment. First United Church of Cthulhu will bless all dice.
I got a question, Lyla. I saw your video a while back about the pros and cons and things of slap chop, and I know you kind of came down on sort of on the no slap chop side. Have you actually reconciled it? Are you still using slap chop in certain cases, or you just ditch the whole process?
I never use slap chop unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah,
Why would I want to slap chop something when I could spend hours and hours on it?
I agree. I'm an under sketcher through and through in my shadows and things. I don't like what I call the 360 zenithal of slap chop. It ruins my eye for lighting and my extreme lighting effects that I do. So I've dumped it completely.
Luckily, slap chop is waning in popularity on YouTube, because there was a while where slap chop was like a top search term, and so I played into that because algorithm. But I'm very pleased that it's waning. The dream would be for YouTube to come back around to doing, like, wanting to have in-depth tutorials, because that's what I love to do, but YouTube goes through phases, and there was a slap chop phase. I don't really know what phase we're in right now, but it's not slap chop, and I can certainly dream that it's going to be a tutorial phase.
All right, excellent.
I also think that the big mad crash to OSL phase is starting to slow down a bit too.
Mad crash to OSL? What do you mean?
For a long time, I'm not talking about James or anything, but there was a mad dash where everybody was wanting to use object source lighting for everything. It was a way to do this, do that, and people got to the point where sometimes they were flooding the whole model in OSL, and weren't even really getting back into what the original colors were, and they were saying how you could use it to cheat something this or do something, or everything that had a torchlight or a lantern, everybody was, and I'm finding that that's slowing down too, and that object source lights become a little more subtle in some of the videos, especially like Ninja and Maniac have really backed up on it, and for a little while there, they were kind of jumping in there, and I'm finding that that's slowing down a bit.
Whoops, I definitely did a video like that. Well, yeah, slowing down, definitely. Gonna pull back on that.
Let's see. AI painted minis. Let's hope not. I don't think we want to see that. Seems to be a new trend. Neon Crusader says, Lyla, I would love to see more in-depth tutorials in the future. I really want to improve on my non-slap chop mini painting skills. Love your content.
Thank you. Well, so YouTube is difficult, and so I've kind of just decided I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want and hope for the best. So yeah, it's difficult because the algorithm is such a clear cut, it's so clear cut on how well you're doing. It is a very metric scale of, are you succeeding or are you not succeeding? So it tells you like your video is one, so when you go to the YouTube homepage, it tells you how your video is ranking compared to all your other videos. Like, it tells you this is how your 10 most recent videos have performed over the past 1 hour. So all 10 videos, their first hour, this is how they all performed, and it tells you how well it's doing, and it tells you, oh, your click-through rate is down, oh, people are leaving this video earlier. And so it can be hard when there is such clear-cut numbers on your success and failure. So I am working on not staring at that. It's going okay, but I'm going to try to make videos that I want to make and not so much videos that the algorithm wants. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's great. You got to be, invested in what you're doing, not just to make the algorithm happy, make yourself happy too, right? Runic says, simple question for Lyla and the crew. What is your favorite model you've ever painted? And what is your least favorite and why?
Probably my Carol Rudick piece, honestly, because I was so fucking proud of that model.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures of that. They were fantastic.
Again, I can't get really close and show you, but it's a zombie with she's holding a face mask. I painted the mask to look like Scarlett Johansson, and I would say I did impeccable. And I am unbelievably excited that I can repaint this model. What's my least favorite model? I don't know. I don't think I have one.
Yeah,
I guess it's my least favorite because I promptly forgot.
That Carol Rudick model was featured on the front cover of plastic IPMS, yeah, International Plastic Model Society. That was like their not the last magazine, but the one before that. And that's the first time I learned about Carol Rudick. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check out those models. And then I saw that it was available in Patreon, and I'm like, I gotta get that one. So yeah, that is a fantastic model. No least favorites. My favorite was the Mad Mage. That I love that model so much I painted it twice in 2 different color schemes. So that was my favorite. Least favorite? Gosh. I don't know. There's so many that I've given up on. Oh, like I had a creature caster. It was like a praying mantis, and I tried to get that model painted so many times and failed so many times. I was like, no, I'm done. I can't even. This model just didn't work. Just didn't work for me. So anybody else want to chime in on that, or any other questions from our esteemed council here?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I like a lot of the stuff I've done. I mean, I got a couple of pieces I'll probably never get rid of, like, or sell or anything. So I would say I have a unit of Ogre Iron Guts from, God, 15 years ago. The Nurgle portrait I did, and then that Hellboy bust I just finished in comic style. Those are definitely my favorite ones.
I think my favorite was the Grave Scavenger, another model that Ed gave to me to paint. It was the first time I really practiced. Yes, it was. They have awesome stuff.
Yes, they do.
That was the first time I really practiced shadowing, like on the tummy, and I think I nailed it. I thinned down as thin as I could go with some purple paint, and it looks great. And Falling Freely, before I painted mine, I commissioned her to paint the same one. Hers was a little bit bigger. And I know I did well on mine when it looks exactly the same as hers. We all know she's a fantastic painter, so to put myself up there in her category, I thought I did a really good job on it. And I never say good things about myself, and that's like one of the only times that I kind of praised myself on a model. As for a least favorite, I don't know. I've painted some Blades and Cooper minis that haven't been great. That's funny because that's my own sculpt, my own mini. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with everything.
All right. Go ahead.
I got 3 favorites, I think, of mine. The Rockabilly Bunny Girl I did from SYZ Games a few years ago is still one of my favorites. The skin tone I did on it was fantastic. I got the Rockabilly type colors down. I was able to manipulate that sculpt enough that I can, get that Rockabilly feel to it. The Gandalf I did just last year from Foulmouth Fox Games for that Fellowship set that I've been working off and on. That Gandalf, for me, was personally so satisfying, and I love the way it came out. And the last one is I've got a John Wick chibi I've had for a while that I did almost exclusively in black and white in Grisaille style, and that came out exactly the way I wanted it to, and I just love the dynamic of it. I don't have like the ultimate worst minis because that I hate, because that would have taken me back to probably around 86, 87, but I've got a few clinkers that I still put on the shelf to remind myself of what not to do. But I've got a friend of mine, I was painting some Relic Blade miniatures 4 years ago, and they had this avatar looking female that just said Indian, East Indian kind of feel to me, and I did her skin in gold lame, and it sucked ass. It was so bad, and he keeps it to this day, so that he claims he keeps it to just be able to show me where I came from, and that, and it's like just burn it. But that's probably about it.
All right. Anybody else in the council wanna? Okay. All right. Well, we're getting close to the end here. We got 10 minutes left, and then we have our question of the day. I told Lyla this was coming, but I said I'm not going to tell you what the question is because you gotta figure it out on the fly. So this is for the
run, Lyla, run now. Close off. Cut the camera.
So this is for the council and chat. You can chime in chat. If animals could talk, which would be the funniest? If animals could talk, which would be the funniest?
Otis.
So okay, I'm gonna give you a second to think about that. If animals could talk, which would be the funniest? And we're gonna as always, start with our featured guest, Lyla. What do you think?
Oh fuck. I would say probably parrots because they're already really smart, and if we made them smart enough to be able to talk, they'd probably be the most likely to be funny.
Okay, I could see that. Makes sense. Makes sense. Runic Raccoon is putting pictures of raccoons. Yes, I think they would be definitely funny as well. Raccoon, hands down, final answer. That was an easy one for you, Runic. All right, we're gonna go to James. What's the funniest animal if it could talk?
He's probably cats, because they would just ask you why you don't lick yourself. They would probably say, don't fatten yourself up so much, because when you die, I'm going to eat you. When I look at you and you think it's so loving, I'm just like thinking what kind of spices I'm going to use on you. Oh, and by the way, you should clean up that litter box again.
Wow. Okay, Blades, you're next.
Besides Otis, probably a bunny, because I think just with how fast they move, I think their brains, so maybe their mouths would too, and just a bunch of stuff would come out.
Okay, all right. Rabbits, no ordinary rabbits, is what you're saying? Okay, Dig, what's your funniest animal if it could talk?
James took mine. I was gonna say cats too, because they're like, they don't give a fuck.
Would they be funny though, or would they just be assholes? I don't know. I mean,
No, I think they'd be funny because they would have like no filter.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know?
They wouldn't have a filter.
They would just basically call it like it is, but you know, you'd have to find the humor in it.
Painterly Git says dogs would be the funniest. They hang out with a guy a lot. Otis would have a stand-up routine. I don't think so. Otis would hide in a corner. Quantum Reverie says baby porcupines would be hilarious. The things they would say so innocently. Honey badgers. Oh, they would be like shock jocks, of course. All right, and Black Skull, what's your answer?
Orangutans.
Okay.
Because I think if they could actually speak and they were to do comedy, I think their forte would be sarcasm. If you really look at orangutan, there's a sarcastic comment always on the verge of their lips, but they just can't express themselves. And I think it would be outrageously funny.
Outrageously funny to see an orangutan. All right. And my answer is dolphins. I think they're always laughing at us. And I think if they could talk, they would prove how much smarter they are than us and let us have it.
Well, you know, we are pretty stupid compared to dolphins because they had to tell us what the meaning of life was.
That's true. Well, it's 42. That's the answer to life and everything, right? But that wasn't a dolphin who told us that. But all right, excellent. All right, Lyla, any closing remarks?
Go paint more minis.
Paint more minis. That's good. Take that time. We've talked about it so many times. Set aside time for yourself to paint. Paint along with your favorite YouTube videos, your favorite Twitch streamers. Paint, create that time, create that regular interval to not get out, to not lose the spark and start getting absorbed by the television or so many other things that can endless doom scrolling on TikTok. You start scrolling on TikTok, you got to tell yourself, I could be spending more time painting and bring up a stream, bring up a YouTube video, bring up a podcast. There's great podcasts out there like Paint Bravely, Trapped Under Plastic. I listen to those in the car personally, but I can't hobby while I'm driving, unfortunately. I would get more hobbying done if I could. I need that autonomous car so I can set up a paint station in the car. I would
Lyla,
totally...
my wife has asked me to ask you a question, and I'm actually kind of intrigued myself. Are you a murderino?
No.
Okay.
Actively no.
Oh, okay. So you don't listen to My Favorite Murder?
No, I don't. I do not think their humor is funny.
She will be sad.
I used to love them, and then I took a step back and decided that I did not enjoy their commentary.
Ah, cool.
Don't know.
But there are a lot of great podcasts out there too that you can listen to even when you can't watch. I don't know what I did with my phone, but I just started listening to one that I've been enjoying a lot. But my phone is in this right now, so I was going to look it up. Must not be here on my
You
desk.
can also don't forget to watch me, Lyla Mev the Mini Witch, on YouTube. Like, subscribe, join my Patreon. You can buy my merch. Here is a The Devil t-shirt. It is based off of the original Player's Guide. Where is my husband? He would have the answer to this.
I was going to say,
original
it looks like
Player's
the
Guide.
D&D Player's Guide.
Yeah, it's a tarot card, but so buy my merch.
All right.
Okay, that's it.
No, I was gonna say that's what I wanted you to do. I wanted to plug all your stuff. Incredible YouTuber. I look forward to the videos regularly, and was so happy to see a new one come up. I always wonder when I don't see somebody with a video for a while, and it's like, what happened? Where's the video for this person? But it was nice to see one that I could watch. I think I watched it on Friday. I work from home on Fridays, so I get to watch I watch things on the side. So that's kind of nice. For Player's Handbook First Edition AD&D inspired. Yes. That's
Yes.
awesome.
By the way, I was glad when I saw her video about the atomic paints and the things with Great Child Big Child Creative, because I breathed a collective sigh, because about 2 months ago I had purchased another box of their atomic paint set, and then that video popped up, and I didn't realize there was a controversy going on with them. So I have a sigh of relief that I have backup paints.
Yeah, I have a set of those too. Tried those out. They've been nice. They kind of wick up the water a little too much for me, but you got to use them right away. You're not going to put those on your palette and wait till tomorrow to use them, or use them again tomorrow, because they get a little soaked. But they're great. Some of the colors in there are really vibrant. I really like them. Painterly Git says you have a website, lylamev.com, and you also have an Instagram, Lyla Mev.
I do.
So that's great. So please go and give all those things your collective follow, subscribe, whatever it is, and a Patreon. Tell us a little bit about your Patreon. What do you all do on your Patreon?
Sure. So it is on the desk videos, because that's what my patrons preferred. I used to do like really highly edited things like I did on YouTube, and people said, no, we just want to watch you paint. So I'll set out a topic: how to paint black, how to paint red, and then I go through my painting process and include all of my mistakes, because I make plenty of mistakes. And then I also do PDF tutorials that are more like things on like color theory, or how to design a color scheme based on one color. I also offer weekly feedback to certain tiers, so you can get feedback once a week on a model over email. And then I also do a hobby hangout every other Sunday, if you wanted to come and hang out and have a good reason to come paint. I also do private lessons, so come get some private lessons.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, what a great session here for the Council Miniature Painters. Thank you so much, Lyla, for coming and visiting with us here and giving us your expert information. And it's been very informative. I learned that I could stretch blue tack and make it sticky again. I mean, heck, that's a huge takeaway for me, along with a lot of the I love that one, because I hate blue tack. I just hate it. But Yeah, that's great. Talking about all the inspiration, the going through the process, all the different things that can have an influence on that process. Thank you all so much. Council, our regular council miniature painters here. We've got James Wapple, Black Skull, Blades, and Dig Batty. Unfortunately, Painterly Git and Quantum were having some technical difficulties with Discord for some reason. I don't think it's on our end because you guys were all able to join, but so normally they would have been here as well. But yeah, go and check out the YouTube for Lyla and look forward to those next videos. And Dragonfall is your next con, I think you said, or do you have a con coming up before that?
Nope. I'm teaching at Dragonfall. And then after that, I'm teaching at FlatCon, which is super tiny in central Illinois, but I'm running a painting competition. I'm doing painting classes. It's so itty bitty brand new. This is the first time they're having any classes, any competition. So yeah, and then yeah, that's what I teach at. FlatCon. Yep.
All right, I'm gonna have to write that one down and look it up. FlatCon.
It's baby brand new. Well, baby as in very small. But we're working on it. We're working on it.
All right. Runic says, "Can't wait to see you at Dragonfall. Thanks for being a guest." Yes, and thank you for being a guest. Lyla, thank you so much. If you want to see re-see this or go back over certain parts of this will be posted on Monster Jam Minis YouTube and always in Twitch VOD for about 90 days, I think. You can see it in Twitch VOD. Otherwise, YouTube VOD is out there for you to watch. Go back and listen over and over and over again until you got these things down, because that's how we become better painters, right? Don't shake FlatCon. It's a baby. Don't shake FlatCon. No, we don't want to shake FlatCon. It's a baby. Okay, I get it. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lyla. Thank you so much to the council for joining us here. James, Black Skull, Blades, Dig Batty. I hope you'll stick around, everybody. We got another 2 hours of stream. I'm going to show you what I've been doing with the Fallout Girl based on your feedback. So it'd be all really cool to see what we're doing there. So again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
If I had the applause sound effect working, I would do the applause sound effect, but that's the best I can do right now. So, all right. Have a great night, Lyla, and the rest of the council. We'll see you all again next month. And for Sam Lenz will be here next month. So that will be huge. So be sure to come back. All right. All right. Let's go back to the den.